Hey, Heidi here, and I am excited. We're going to talk today a little bit back and forth, me and Shelly. She is actually a story alchemist, and she is the host of the Yes Effect podcast. So, we're going to be talking a lot about art healing and a little bit about my story sharing for those of you that don't know. So, welcome. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Your story is super impactful to me for a series of reasons. So I'm really excited to be able to unravel some of the gems that are sitting right under the surface that some people might not know about you, even though they're in your community.
Yeah, I know. It feels like recently, I was just telling Shelly right before we got live, I said there's a lot of people that are new to Texas Art and Soul and just learning about how painting can heal. So we just want to kind of give you a background of how this all got started. So if you are thinking maybe you're, a really great crafter or a great painter, you can see how you can go from just this idea to possibly it changing your life. In every way possible, which is what it's done for me.
Yeah, and if I could jump right in on that, your story, the first time I heard your story was probably about a year ago, and you were talking about how you started as a teacher. And I'm gonna pull some gems out of that if I can indulge myself in the juiciness of your tale. But can you just start with at the very beginning, you were a teacher. How did you come to be where you are right now in the very, very beginning of this?
Oh man. So I was a teacher for 10 years, an art teacher. And I remember making $22,000 a year. And I had a new baby and just not wanting at that time, needing more income. Like we needed more income. And I went to it was called How Great Thou Art. And it was similar to, the paint and sip parties. And I was talking, I was painting along and the teacher would come by and say how good I was doing. It was the owner. And I remember her saying like, man, you're really good. And we're looking for artist instructors and I can pay you $50 for 2 hours. And I was just like, you can do what? I remember tears coming down my face. Like I can make an extra $50 for 2 hours. And so that started the very first time I ever did a paint party. And then that led to her leaving, she closed the business. She wasn't an artist. And so she said, hey, I have this private party. If you want to go do it, you can take this private party. Well, I took off work as a school teacher and I made like 350 bucks in a couple of hours doing it myself. And I just thought I was adding it up in my head and I'm like, okay, wait, I did not make near that teaching today. And I
Right.
started kind of, seeing, and that just kind of started the possibilities of it. So I started doing that. And then a surfboard business came along, which kind of changed my perspective on everything.
I so love this, and here's why. We are trained from the time we're little kids to look at you have to get a good job. Here's what your life is going to look like. This step to this step to this step to this step. And the thing is that we forget that by nature we are creative beings. And even problem solving is creating or art is creating, whether it be, audio art or visual art or whatever that looks like, but we're trained to create and morph and do all of the things. I think the thing that we don't necessarily realize is when grain of sand by grain of sand we get crammed inside this box and we all of a sudden have this mindset of, well, this is the job, and your creative wings get clipped or your little spirit gets crushed just a little bit at a time, so you almost don't notice it. But the thing is, in moments like that, when your body tells you the truth, when you find yourself at this art studio and you're like, not only are you doing something you love, you're getting paid for it an amount that you don't at the job that you were told you're supposed to do. What was that like the first time when you had, because I'm sure you had to have had a light bulb moment where you thought, okay, I've trained all this time to be a teacher. It's the secure thing. Staying there is a smart thing to do. However, you're probably mathing in your brain and you're like, if I could do this, actually do this, what was that light bulb moment for you when you realized, holy smokes,
Oh,
I did something I love for a shorter period of time. It lit me up. It was easy and effortless and also making way more money.
yeah, so there's many light bulb moments through the many years of this, but the main one that stands out for me is when we started. So I went through a bankruptcy and we lost everything, and I was just devastated. And I used art to heal, and I started, I used my sister's saw and we cut out these surfboards because we were living in Panama City at the time, Panama City Beach, and I was teaching and I would bring those surfboards to work on during lunch or whatever. And the kids would just go crazy and they would go, Miss Easley, paint me a surfboard. And I go, no, I'm working on that. Like, it was just like my way to cope. And
Mhm.
so the kids kept seeing him and kept saying, I mean, like after about 150 kids said, Miss Easley, can you paint me one and put my name on it? Like a light bulb went off. And I was like, oh crap, like this may be a way I can get my family out of this situation. So we ended up setting up a place in Pier Park. If you've ever been to Panama City Beach, you should go. It's really, really pretty. And we rented a concrete space, and that's where we got set up, and nobody came to it. Like I was like, oh my gosh, this sucks. Cause like we had lost our house. My mother-in-law decided, you can't do this on your own. So we'll go 50-50. We'll do the upfront cost. And then as we start making money, then you can pay us back and then we'll split it 50-50. And I just had like this new hope, like this is going to be it. And then nobody bought the freaking surfboards. And I was like freaking out. And I walked to Buffalo Wild Wings. My mother-in-law was like, okay, come on, let's go. So we went to the bar and got a drink because that's what you do when you've failed so much. And so we were having a drink at the bar and then another drink. And I'm like, this was plan B. Like, I'm not even 30. Like, what am I supposed to do? And just totally freak out mode. And Bobby calls and everything changed. And he calls and he's like, you got to get over here. Like, we have orders. I'm like, you're lying. He's like, get over here. So I tipsily walk across the street. It's, when you go there, you'll see it's literally across the street. So I was not driving and drinking, but I walked across the street and he had all these paper tickets. And he's like holding them out and he's like, get to painting, get to painting.
I literally just got goosebumps.
I'm telling you, like this moment has defined everything for me. Like he's holding these tickets and he's like, you need to paint, like get to painting. And I'm looking at him and it was like God in that moment, like scooped me up, like, cause I was like sad. I was like, I felt so alone. I felt like I was the only one in the world at that time who had gone bankrupt, which now I found out that millions of us had lost our homes at that time. But at that time, I thought it was only me. And cause I didn't tell anybody, I didn't talk about it. I was terrified. And it was like God scooped me up. And not only did he say that I was going to be okay, he said that I'm going to be able to do what I love forever, and which is paint. And so I happily painted those surfboards. That whole night we ended up selling over $20,000 worth of surfboards in less than 2 months, which changed the whole direction of my entire life as far as the possibilities that could happen, as far as like what is meant for me. And so now it's gone on to paint party after paint party. And then of course, when you start doing something well, people start to ask you how it happened. And now I teach people how to do that.
Okay, I need to circle back on a couple things because there's so much juice and gems in this. So here's the thing that for anybody listening that I want to point, because it's easy to listen to your story and it's like a rags to riches kind of like inspirational story, but the truth is before you knew, you didn't know. So for anybody out there who's maybe considering this for themselves, but before you know, you don't know. Like that's what it feels like in those moments, right? And also too, like as I shared with you before we started, have been going through a very personal dark night of the soul, and I started using art to heal. And people will say, well, try and get quiet or try and meditate, and yes, for sure, do that. But there's something magical about the world literally disappearing in those moments. You can't be somewhere else, right? And for especially in today's days and age where you have social media and you're being pulled in all different directions, you don't get a chance to reset and listen to your body in those moments, right? And
Right.
so when you're in front of the canvas just doing that thing, you can't be anywhere else. But the magic of that is when you're done, yes, you're going to have something really pretty, but also you're going to have something really pretty like a new perspective and an exhale and a deep breath and hope and all of the things that have you clenching just somehow melt away a bit. What I love about what you're doing though is not just that you're allowing the people that will be coming to these incredible women's paint classes to heal, but you're also allowing the painter to become the healer for themselves and for their business and for their families and for their finances. And it's just the matrix of how beautiful that is about something that is just so unusual and rare in that your ability to get real and get right with yourself for those moments, and also to be able to make money doing it is like what the actual.
I I feel like I was talking to paint party headquarters the other day, and I was telling them, I was like, I feel like all the stuff that comes through me, the paintings, the artwork, all of that is not meant for me. It's
Mm.
meant for them. It's almost like I feel like God's given me this ability to try, and I pray like crazy, like, please God, give me the next best painting design, because I wanted to help them, because if they're successful, I'm successful. And
Mm.
so I don't have this, I think in a weird way, where art can be very personal and art can be very healing. In a weird way, it's like God's given me this ability to not have such ownership over the art, because I know this art is to help people's families. And I know this art is to help them make money. And then the coolest part about that is then they go teach a paint party, which ends up helping somebody else heal because
Right.
they showed up for a paint party. And I love that. I love that that's what I get to do and help people. It's pretty
Well,
cool.
I love that on the outside it looks like you're helping people build paint party businesses, but what you're actually creating is a movement of possibility and a movement of hope and a movement of freedom and a movement of security. And getting choked up. And the ripple effect though is like people's kids maybe get to go to a school they wouldn't have gotten to, or somebody always wanted to see Italy and actually gets to do that, or whatever that looks like. It's like it's insane what you're doing. Um, I want to ask you this question. Do you have one testimony or a case study or one student that before, when they were thinking of like, oh man, I don't know if this could be me, just like you were, was there somebody that landed on your heart in a certain way that went on to do something in spite of the doubt or in spite of the fear, but took that one extra step, and then what happened to them?
Oh my gosh. So many. I mean, we have so many awesome people, men and women. But one that comes to mind, she has taught well over 500 paint parties. And she just keeps going and going and going, and she's a rock star. And one of the things that, we do a live event every year, and I didn't even know this, like I invited her to be a speaker, and I didn't even know this until she started speaking about it. And I was just in the crowd, just boohooing as she's saying this. But when COVID hit, and of course, all of our paint parties in person are being canceled. Um, you know, my yeah, I'm sitting here going like, God, like, why did you give all this to me? And now it's all going to be taken away. Like, there's got to be a reason for this. There's got to be a point. And then, quickly the problem solving comes in. And I'm like, well, I know how to do online paint parties. I know how I will teach them online paint parties. Let me just pivot and help them. And so at the same time that we were in this panic and praying for answers and praying for ways to help them. And by the way, we ended up literally like just revamping stuff and getting stuff out as fast as humanly possible so that we could help them. And she was praying like crazy. What am I going to do? How am I going to do this? How am I going to revamp this? And now she's gone on to move her business from, she still does in person, but now she has an online element. Like I always say, like have many multiple streams, it goes back to losing everything. I want to have as many streams as possible so that
Right.
I'm secure and that I can keep employing the people that I have employed and all of that stuff, all those responsibilities now. And so now she has, she did her an online thing. I think she ended up with like 8 people that painted with her, and one was from Australia. And she was just so excited to think that she could reach somebody all the way across the world. Because she just took things that she learned and took action with it. And so I think seeing somebody go from like thinking this is the only way to do something to wait a minute, there's not just that way, but there's like 50 other ways that I can do this and still provide for my family. Like that has really, really made a big difference in my life. And again, I always say it's not really about paint parties. It's about sharing God's love through art. And just last night I was on a phone call with one of my members, and she, and I know, like, I know we're talking a lot, I'm talking a lot about God, but she said she had never prayed until she started listening to me. And I'm like, that, like, to me, that, I mean, if I can just help somebody paint and heal and know that there's somebody that you can talk to, like that, just makes my whole world. So that was a pretty cool moment last night.
Well, it's cool because in some ways you're a shepherd of what could become possible. Like the reason I love sharing people's stories is the difference between ordinary and extraordinary. So some people are listening to you and thinking, "Man, like Heidi's story is so inspirational and she did that." But when they hear where you came from, right? You're not just the extraordinary person that's unrelatable, you're the ordinary person who's bankrupt. And I love that when we trace the root back, what you did was you listened to a tap that felt like a yes and
Mhm.
you moved on it. So, you know, painting those surfboards and you're hearing this and you're getting input. And somebody right now is going to be listening to you and thinking to themselves, is this for me? And I just want to say that might very well be your tap on the shoulder because for you, your tap was, maybe surfboards are going to be a thing if you trace it all the way back. But you acted on the tap and now you have a $1 million business with 20 employees. So for those people who are thinking like this is not possible, this is absolutely possible. And the thing that I love about you is you've been there, you know the way, and they get to like I'm working with an art coach right now through part of what I said, my own healing. And the thing that I love about that is she has saved me like 15 years because I don't have to learn it the wrong way 20 times. And some of the paintings I've made, I've shocked myself, but because I get to take advantage of her mentoring and her rabbit holing down different things and her experience and the same, right? And it just like what becomes possible for people who jump on board with what you're offering and like listen to that tap and look at where you've gone. Because what I know for sure is people are going to be hearing your story but feeling theirs. And what you're actually providing is like healing and hope.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this paint party adventure, you just don't know where it's going to lead you. And whether it's like you using it for healing right now and that's just, the start of what could be something so majorly big in your life too. Like that's
Yeah.
the thing I love so much about this is um in life, we just don't know what the next step's going to be. And I always feel like people cross paths for so many different reasons and there's a reason for it. And so I'm excited to see where I saw your two paintings earlier. So I'm just excited to see where that's going to take you and see what happens.
What's your best hope for those who are thinking maybe they're interested in being part of, what you do and coming along with you? What's your best hope for those people?
Oh my gosh. My best hope for them is to find the courage to take action through fear, even though you're scared, because you're going to be terrified. And my hope is that once they take that action and they get that little bit of confidence, whether it's doing a Facebook Live or, doing an in-person party or whatever that looks like for them, that they start to take that confidence and they realize that they can change their family's financial future. Um, I had no idea. I'm telling y'all, I had no idea when I first did that $50 paint party for 2 hours and started selling those surfboards. Like I had no idea that my life could be totally encompassed with art in every moment of my life. It's paint,
So rad.
paint everywhere. Like I had no idea I wanted that, but I had no idea it was possible. And I think sometimes people, like you said, we see people on social media and we think it just happens like that. And I want you to know it does not happen that fast. It takes time, but I mean, all we have is time. Like we're going to be aging anyway. We might as well just age to what we want to do. And I just want you to have that feeling, like that feeling of me knowing that I can paint and do what I love forever has given me hope. It has made the decisions that I choose now totally different. And I just want y'all to know that like you can do one paint party or you can build your online business. And the next thing you know, you're going to have family members going like, how in the hell did you just pay for your mortgage with one night's party? Or how did that happen? Like, that's the questions I get now. They're just like blown away with like, wait a minute, what happened? And I want y'all to have that freedom to go, I can change my family's future. It doesn't always have to feel like this. I was the girl in the grocery store calling Bobby, my husband, going, do you really want the pizza pockets or do you want the chips? Because you can only choose one. Like I was that person and then putting stuff back. And that was one of my biggest things was I want to be able to go to the grocery store and buy whatever I want and not have to
Right.
look at the bank account before I check out. And so I want that for them watching. I want that for you watching, whoever is watching, to have that financial freedom to be able to make those choices.
Well, I think there's two things here. Roots and wings is what I like to call it. Roots is your practical tactical in that you have built a business. Like you know how to do this. Like you know about audience building and you know about the nuances that, we don't have to learn, but also then you know about the other part too, like the art and the creativity part. And I just think that's such a like momentum game changer for anybody who's considering doing this. But I just wanted to also speak to fear. In my life outside of storytelling and hosting podcasts, I'm also a fire captain. And I remember before I was a fire captain, I was a 108-pound manicurist with no skills or knowledge or experience, and I wasn't big enough, brave enough, smart enough, strong enough to do that job. But I had a calling on my heart. I had that tap that we were talking about, and I decided to go. Now, imagine 20 years old, 108 pounds. This is a long time ago, so there were no women in firefighting. And whenever I would tell my big scary dream to my girlfriends, they're like, yeah, but we're going to the bar, like beer and boys. And I'm like, well, I can't because I have to work overtime and do this thing. And they never understood because it wasn't their vision. But what I will share with you is when I started going to those firefighting school and taking action, just like you were talking about, I took action and then all of a sudden I found myself surrounded with people who were just like me. And so it normalizes something and it makes something achievable, right? Like if it's like somebody who has a sedentary lifestyle, if they hang around with a marathon runner, there's incongruence. However, when you hang around with people who believe what you believe and are going where you're going, all of a sudden you're normalizing achievement. And you have a place to vent and believe and belong and become. And fear is actually just courage is just fear in motion, rather.
Say that again. Courage is what?
Courage is nothing more than fear in motion.
Oh, I love that.
And I know that because I have lived that over and over and over again. So I tell this to all my students as well. If you're waiting for the moment to be afraid, to be unafraid, it's not coming.
Mm-mm.
When you look at those people that are in a position that you aspire to, understand that courage is fear in motion. They started before they were ready. Ready is not coming, maybe completely a lack of nervousness, it might not be coming, but greatness is coming, and joy is coming, and freedom is coming. That's coming if you answer the tap, because courage is just fear in motion.
I love that. I love that so much. And it's so true. Like I've watched so many documentaries on people who at high level success and they still have that fear. They still
Mhm.
have it. So that just goes to show you that we're not ever going to be in a position where we're like, we're good. We got this. Like we're always going to be in a position where we're scared and we still have to take action. So, and thank you for all that you do. That is amazing. You have
Oh
come
my
so
gosh,
far.
thank you for what you're doing because it is under the hood of it is so much more than teaching people to have paint parties. You're creating freedom and beauty and hope and healing in so many people and we're all really grateful for you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes. And thank you for spending some time with us today. Again, we just wanted to have a conversation, open this up because I know a lot of people out there are, doing their creative stuff and they're just scared and they feel alone. And we want you to know that there is a whole world of opportunity out there if you just start looking for it. So we're excited to help you. If you want to learn more about this, just check the comments or click a link. I'm sure there's something somewhere that you can look more on, and we'd be happy to share that with you. So thank you, Shelley, so much for being here with us.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. It's been awesome. I'll hang out with you any day, buddy.
All right, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.